Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Sarai and I am a life coach helping you learn how to manage your mindset so that you can achieve the life of your dreams and the life that you truly deserve. All right, now make sure to subscribe to my channel, turn those notifications on, and then give this video a like when you're done watching. This video is going to be all about taking back control of your life. How good does that sound, right? Taking back control of your life. All right, now this is going to be part one in this series, so make sure to check out the other videos that are going to be involved. Now, my number one tip, the very first thing that we need to talk about when you take back control of your life is a formula, an equation, all right? And in this equation, there are three variables. You have an event, you have a response, and you have an outcome. So it's called E plus R equals O. So in that event, the very first thing, E for event, this is a circumstance, it's a situation, okay? It's something that can't really be changed. So it can't be changed because either it's already happened or it is in the process of happening. So some examples of this would be traffic, right? So you're in the middle of traffic or traffic already happened. It might be divorce, right? So divorce, like let's say the divorce has already happened. Okay, so then that was something that was in the past. Or you can even say quarantine, right? That's a perfect example because we're all going through it right now. But we can't change it, right? So it's a fact. It occurred or is occurring, and really, I know this might trigger some of y'all, but whatever that event is the event itself is neutral. And here's why, okay? Because when you have your E plus your R, now R is your response, okay? That's how you respond to the event. So with traffic, right? I know that doesn't seem neutral, and I understand that divorce definitely doesn't seem neutral, and neither does quarantine, but it's your response to that event that makes it positive or negative, all right? The event itself just is, but your response is what makes it a good or bad experience. And then you have the outcome, the O for outcome, which is basically just the result of your response to the event. So out of the E and the R and the O, the only thing that you have control over is the R, your response to it. So there are two responses, okay? You have an unintentional response where that is emotionally based, okay? So it's like allowing your emotions to answer for you. Okay, that one's unintentional. And then you have an intentional response. This is where you actually allow yourself time to think about it before you respond. Now, out of the two, which one do you think is probably going to get the better results? Yeah, it's going to be the intentional model, right? It's going to be the one where you actually take time to think before you respond. So let's go back to traffic, right? So we were talking about traffic. So the traffic, it's happening. It's a fact. There's nothing we can do about it. We're stuck in traffic. We're going to be late. Okay, so now I have my two options, right? I can look at it and go, oh my gosh, I'm so frustrated. I can't believe I'm sitting here in traffic. I'm going to be late again to work. This is ruining my time to work. And then it's probably going to ruin my day because then I'm just going to be all discombobulated for the rest of the day. All right, that's one response. That was my unintentional response, right? My intentional response is, all right, I'm going to take a deep breath. Okay. Let me think about this for a second before I allow myself to get, out of control. Let me think about this. So how can I spin this so that I can actually benefit from it? Well, if I have extra time in the car, maybe I do it, like listen to an audiobook. And in fact, even if you listen to an audiobook on a normal basis on the way to work, well, now you get like double the amount of audio exposure, right? So, I mean, that's just one way that you can kind of spin it so that you benefit from it. And even just allowing yourself to say, you know what, I'm not going to get bent out of shape about this because I can't change it. My frustration over it will not change the equation, except it'll make me feel bad, but it's not going to actually change what happened to the event. It's not going to prevent traffic from happening. It's not going to magically make traffic go, right? So just taking a moment or two to think before you respond really goes a long way. All right, now think of your current response. This is number two, right? So your current response. Think of how, take any situation, right? Anytime that you experienced an event where you didn't get the outcome that you wanted, okay? And you experienced that event and you didn't get that outcome that you wanted. Think of your response to it. can you somehow see that by choosing that response, that you actually created the outcome? So let's say you were in an argument with someone. Okay, you were in that argument, and because you allowed your emotions, right? You allowed your unintentional response, that immediate responding, that reaction really is what it is. It's a reaction instead of an intentional response. So because you allowed that to happen, maybe you outcome said something that you didn't really mean and therefore hurt that person. Or maybe you are late to work. Okay? You are late. That, like, you're going to be late. This is your event. And your response is that because you allow those emotions to respond, you feel guilty. You actually feel guilty, and we're going to talk about that in another second. But that is going to be your outcome, is that you feel a negative way, and therefore you act out that guilt all day long instead of allowing yourself to heal and get on and move on, which actually prevents you from being more productive. Or maybe even just like you overate, right? Okay, yeah, it happened. It was an event. You overate. But what do we end up doing? We end up beating ourselves up over it. And is that going to help us? Is that going to make us not overeat in the future? Contrary to what you might think, it's not true. But so ask yourself, how does it feel? How does it feel when you feel guilty, when you berate yourself, when you say something that you didn't mean? It doesn't feel good, right? Well, now here's the cool thing, because you actually have an option to feel good. Yeah. So remember what I was saying about you have two choices. You have your unintentional emotional response, and then you have your intentional thought-provoked response. Another way to look at it is you have every aspect has, or every event, okay, circumstance has two aspects to it. It has the positive and it has the negative. Okay, it has that which you want and that which you don't want. So if you're focusing on what you don't want, as in I'm going to be late, 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 versus when I arrive to work, no matter what time it is, I want to be clear-headed. Okay, those are two very different outlooks on the same traffic scenario, or on the same I'm going to be late scenario, whatever it might be. Like, you could be thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to set me behind all day. This is going to make me do this. And I'm going to be, I'm going to have all of these repercussions. Or when I get to work, no matter what time it is, I am going to be clear-headed and I'm going to achieve all of the tasks that I want to do. It just means I got to be more productive, right? But if you're still focusing on this aspect of it, how are you going to be productive, and how are you actually going to get those things on your list accomplished? This is why we have the opportunity to let it go. Let it go, let it go. Yeah. It's so funny how a song like that can just mean so much, right? But here's the thing. The mind only focuses on one thing at a time. One thing. So if you are focusing on how you want to be, you cannot possibly be focused on what you do not want. I love that, right? I love that. And another way, because this is very key here, and I know that once I learned this, it like completely changed my life. Whenever you are feeling an emotion, good or bad, it always, always, always is linked directly to a thought. So when you are feeling a negative emotion, try to stop yourself and ask, what was I just thinking? Because it can always be traced back to a thought. So if you are, and I have one even better, but when you are feeling that way, like if I'm feeling frustrated or I'm feeling anxious, or especially in this, the way that the world is right now, with all of our communities and society and everyone just being very anxious, but like ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Why am I uptight and I'm fearful, right? It can always be linked back to a thought. So whenever you Another way that what I was going to say is like another reason that I really love this is because even when I find myself like tripping, like I kind of stumble or I drop something or I like jam my finger or something. You want to know what's crazy? What's awesome is that I can always trace that back to a negative thought. I can always trace it back to something like some sort of thought that I had about how I'm not good enough, or I'm berating myself about like, how could you do that, Sarai? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, I can actually trace it back to a thought like that. Isn't that amazing? I think that the brain it's a beautiful and a complicated thing, but yeah, like if you can start really thinking about it and trying to trace your thoughts back and be like, all right, so I'm noticing that this is how I'm feeling. I wonder what I'm thinking. You'd be amazed at what you find. Okay, now we're going on. Number 3, routines. Whether you think that you have one or not, you do. Everyone has a routine. Now, if you wake up in the morning and it's like guns blazing, you know, like pedal to the metal, everything's a crazy mess, and you're running around the house like chicken without a head, this is a chaotic routine, right? And just like with our thoughts, we have an option. We can choose chaos or we can choose calm, right? Having a calm routine. So me, yes, sometimes I have a little chaos, especially with a little 4-month-old, but I do my best to choose a calming routine. I do my best to do it. Even a couple extra minutes here or there makes such a difference. And try to set yourself up for success the night before. Okay, now let me go into a little bit of detail on this. The last 45 minutes to an hour before you go to bed, and the first 45 minutes to an hour when you wake up, these are crucial periods of time because your brain waves are slower than they are during the day. Okay, so like when you're going around at work or at home and you just have a lot of things to do, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you're a professional out of the workforce, your brain waves are at a much higher level. They're at a much faster pace. But when you are preparing for sleep and all through sleep, and then when you get up the next morning, up until about an hour before you start your day, your brain waves are a lot slower, which means you're more susceptible to what you are exposed to. This is why having a routine that is calming, a routine that is ideally electronic free, that includes TV, that is your cell phone, okay? Even if you, now I know if you're like me, you might even like to do a meditation with your cell phone, and that's fine. But even if possible, try to turn that Wi-Fi off, especially right before you go to bed, because that can actually kind of keep our brain active, all right? So we do energetically feel that. So that's something that you might want to think about. I know I started doing that and I feel like it really helps a lot, and it certainly helps my my little baby sleep. But just be very aware of what you're putting into your mind during this period, because do you really want someone else's Instagram account, like their post, or maybe the news? Do you like politics and negative influences? Do you really want those things rooting around in your brain for all that time? I know I don't. So if at all possible, you try to start dimming the lights, put on some calming music if you want, do a meditation, just do something that is going to help further you for the next 8 to 12 hours, something that is going to help set you up for success for the next day, maybe even just mentally previewing your day, that night before. It makes a big deal, or even just, it makes a big difference, or even the morning of, taking your time to think about your day and say, okay, I'm gonna do this and this, and it's gonna go perfect, and all of these things, and just visualizing your day. That will, I know for me, it makes a huge difference. Okay, now we're gonna be moving on to number 4. So my 4th tip is about responding differently. Okay, so we all have buttons, right? Buttons that either people can push, or that certain situations can hit for us, like stressors, right? Things that tend to stress us out. Now, I'll be honest, like for me, one of my buttons is when, or at least it used to be, I've worked through a lot of this thought wise. I've done a lot of thought work on this, but being told what to do. I used to have a lot of issues with that. And I would always respond with, I guess, kind of like rebelling and saying, well, you know what? That like, oh, I'm going to do the exact opposite of that, right? But if I think about it, did that ever really serve me? Did that ever really benefit me? And once I realized that I was just doing that because I had this idea in my head that, well, I don't want to do, like, just because you're telling me it's the right way doesn't mean that it is the right and only way. So I would want to do the opposite, right? But then I was like, you know what? That doesn't work for me. So I'm going to respond differently because I'm not getting an outcome that I wanted. Now, this was before I found out about the E plus R equals O equation, but I was applying it without even realizing. But that is something that when I noticed that I had that stressor, that those buttons, I chose to respond differently. Now, another thing that you can do is number 5, which is take 5% more responsibility. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes it's hard to, when you think about like transforming your life, right? You think, oh my gosh, this is just way too much. Like this is too much at once. There's no way I can do this. My life is too busy. I have no time, right? So this is something that helps us kind of, we want to say like chunk it down, right? We're going to chunk it down. We're going to take only one category, only 5% more responsibility in, let's say, that one category. Okay. Now, so think it's like small steps, right? Like little baby steps. Now, if you were to take, let's say relationships, for example, if you were to take 5% more responsibility for relationships and you were to do that 5% more each week and you were to do that for 20 weeks, what would you get? 100% more responsibility. How about that? Now that doesn't seem too out of control, right? Like that seems doable. Now think about if you did that in every aspect of your life, for finances, career, you as a person, your well-being, your health. Think about all like where you would be after all those weeks, the person that you would be. This is really, really a very powerful tool. So like even like if I were to take 5% more responsibility for my health and well-being, right? Maybe I would decide to eliminate processed foods, or at least start to eliminate processed foods, right? That would be something that would be really good for my health. If I were to take 5% more responsibility for my marriage, I would schedule date night. That's something that's not going to be super time consuming, but it would make such a difference in my life. If I was going to take 5% more responsibility for, let's say, finances, maybe I would hang on to my receipts. I would then log my receipts, because this is actually something that financially successful people do. They hang on to the receipts, they log them, they categorize them, and then they keep them so that they easily have access to them. Well, that's something that I could do. Right? And that's just taking 5% more responsibility. And then if you keep doing things like that week after week, look at where you would be after all that time, right? It's so amazing to really think about it. Okay, now moving on, our next one is number 6, is responding to opportunity. Now, I know that this might seem, well, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I mean, if an opportunity, like if a door opens, well, sure, I'm going to go through it. But here's the thing. If we kind of have ourselves closed off to feeling like we're in control, we might not actually see it as an opportunity. We might be thinking, well, like if somebody presents something to us and it's currently not something that we would normally be open to and say yes to, we might be like, oh no, there's no way I could do that. That's like a business opportunity maybe, and there's like some money that you need to invest, in your life. There's no way I could do that. I don't have that money right now. If you take a moment, or a few moments in this case, right? Or maybe you even need to say to that person, you know what? I need some time. I need some time to think about this. Guess what? It's okay to respond that way. You don't have to immediately respond to somebody. Even a text message, you don't have to immediately respond to it if you feel like it has hit a stressor, if you feel like it's hit a button for you. Allow yourself time to soak it in, to let it sink, and then when you have a few moments to actually think about it, you can perhaps respond and say, okay, I'm going to respond in an intentional way. And the best way to ask yourself if this could be done, if this opportunity could actually be taken, is if there was a successful person that you looked up to, right? I'm sure that we all have successful people that we look up to, people that we're like, oh, they have it all together. Maybe not in every category, but I'm sure that there's somebody, like, let's say, maybe it's even another couple that has a wonderful marriage, or maybe is a financial guru, or someone who is a success in their career that you want to be in. Anyone like that, how would they handle it, right? If it was a career opportunity that came their way and they didn't have the money to do it right then and there, don't you think that they would find the money to get it done? How would they respond? How would they go about it if they felt that it was the right move for them? Yeah, it's a great way to think about it, right? So this completes this part of taking back control of your life. But these are some great tips to really think about. Let it sink in. And that is something, even just that last thing, a successful person, how would they handle it? If they were faced with any of these things, how would they handle it? They would find a way, which means that you can too. If an event was the deciding factor, everybody would experience the same outcome. This is how you know that the event is not the deciding factor. Because if one person responds this way and another person responds this way and they get a different outcome, then it's your response to the event that decides the outcome. Yeah. All right. I hope to see you back for part 2. Again, my name is Sarai. I am a life coach helping you manage your mindset so that you can achieve the life of your dreams. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, turn those notifications on, and give this video a like. I will see you later.